Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a recap of game number 3 of the December Open at the ASU Chess Club. So, this game was a very dynamic game with a bunch of ups and downs and a bunch of really tough situations where I had to find precise moves in order to keep advantage. But without talking about the game much more, let's just hop right into it. Like I said before, at this point, I'm definitely an E4 player. I think nowadays I do dabble into playing some D4 openings, but definitely not in competitive matches, especially rated ones at a tournament like this. So you'll see me play E4. My opponent plays E5, Knight F3, Knight C6, Bishop C4. And like I said in the other video, this is the Italian opening. I definitely played this, trying to get into Evans Gambit lines and fried liver attack lines as well. And we actually do end up getting one of those games with my opponent playing knight f6. I do get the chance to play knight g5, and this leads to variations of the fried liver attack. Obviously, the main line of the fried liver goes d5, e takes d5, knight takes d5, and then a knight sacrifice on f7, where if the king takes, I bring my queen out to f3, and now I am attacking his king, and I am attacking his knight. And this could end up very badly for white. For example, if he goes here, it's just mate after bishop takes. What is it? Bishop takes. Knight takes. Queen takes rather, and then after queen takes, this is just mate. So very deadly opponent if my opponent doesn't know what to get into. Obviously, other lines. One of my favorite lines after this move is d5. Playing with black. D5. E takes d5, and then I could go knight a5, attacking his bishop, and then he can't capture the f7 pawn because the bishop is no longer protecting the f7 square because the pawn is blocking. So I like to do that when I play with black in order to refute fried liver attacks. But we didn't get none of that in this game. In this game, we got the move Bishop C5, which is also a very deadly move if you don't know what you're doing. This is called the Traxler counter attack, where the whole point of the Traxler, and we'll end up getting some of the main line of the Traxler here, is after I take the pawn with my knight, he detonates Bishop F2 check. And if I take the bishop like I do, he comes in with knight e4 check. And I go back to g1. And again, it's very easy to get mated. For example, he brings out his queen. And if I don't defend this f2 square, it's just mate and it's over, right? We do get this in the game. I know in this position, as the as the computer says here, the best move is actually go to king e3 and attack this knight. That's very brave, and I think for a computer, obviously the computer would play it, but I think practically speaking, bringing your king out to e3 is just not the greatest idea in the world, especially for me. I think at this point, I'm unrated, according to the U.S. Chess Federation, and then on chess.com, I was probably like 1100 at this point. No way an 1100 could bring out his king to e3 and just be safe, right? So I go to g1. I knew g1 was a safe move according to theory. He brings out his queen, again, making a mate threat. I block it. Apparently, the best move here and the move that gives me a plus 4.3 advantage is queen e2. Apparently, it does a better job because, I mean, the human way to think about it is not only does it prevent mate, but it also attacks the knight. I think that's better. But I think at this point, I'm up 2 points of material, as you can see here. So I kind of just wanted to get queens off the board. Not there, obviously. I just wanted to get queens off the board, move my king, bring my rook out, and bring my king back manually castle. And then if I could trade queens and then bring my rook out and put my king to safety, I think I'd be fine and be able to convert this. I end up going queen f1. My opponent goes rook f8 to attack my knight. I go d3, attacking his knight. Apparently, the best move here was queen takes f6. Exchanging queens was apparently best in order to keep some sort of advantage. I'm not sure why. I guess what I said before, exchanging queens and then manually castling is my best way of winning this. but for some reason I didn't play it even, and I didn't follow my own logic. I guess that happens a lot with like 1100s. That makes sense. I attack his knight. He brings his knight in. He just completely sacrifices his knight. I think I spent about 10 minutes in this position trying to figure out if taking the knight was good or if this was going to lead me to some sort of like mate. At the end of like 10 minutes, I didn't end up seeing any sort of devastating mate threat or any sort of way that he can just take everything and make me lose material. So I just decided to take the knight. Oh shoot, what in the world is going on? I apologize for that. Where were we? We saw all of this. Yeah. So I take the knight after deciding. He goes Queen B6. I think the best move was just probably taking on C2. What does the computer say? Yeah. Because after the knight takes on C2, my rook is trapped and I can't take it. But he doesn't do that. He decides to go Queen B6 instead, setting an obvious trap in my opinion, which is if I don't believe it, if I don't do anything, I just get mated. Yeah, Queen E3 here is just mate, setting up a double check, and the Queen X-rays the king, and then the knight also checks the king, and that would just be mate. So I saw that and played Bishop E3. Pinning his knight to his queen. He takes the pawn. I move my knight out of the way, defending my rook with my queen now that my knight's out of the way. He takes the pawn. I move my rook, attacking his queen. Apparently, this is the best move to keep significant advantage, which right now I'm at plus 4.2, no, 4.3. Just attacking his queen. Okay, I do that. He attacks my knight, so now I have to do some sort of like calculation here, because not only does he take my bishop, he's also attacking my queen, right? And essentially what I see here and what ends up happening in the game is after he takes his bishop, I could take his queen, and then he could take my queen, then I could take his knight. So at the end of the day, he's winning a bishop and a queen, and I'm winning a queen and a knight. Then I end up deciding that that's fine, because not only do I get to move my king a square, then I could just move it up, bring my rook out. Right, so that's what I kind of saw, and I like that, and then that ends up happening in the game. And then he plays d6 here in order to reinforce the pawn here. It makes sense. He wants to protect this pawn from the knight capturing. Right now I can't do that because my king is in the same file as the knight, and obviously I can't move the knight because my knight is pinned to my king. But he does that waiting move. And then I go through with my plan, getting my king up, and then manually castling at some point after this relentless attack of pawns. And then in this position, I do end up getting, I wouldn't say worried, but I see what could be happening, right? I see this huge avalanche of pawns coming down my board. I mean, at this point, it's what, 5-on-2? 5-on-2 right here, the pawns. Obviously, I have other pieces, but I can't just go sacking a bishop for a pawn. I do see I'm up 3 points of material after my opponent just randomly sacrifices knight. And I do end up thinking, okay, I'm up 3 points of material. If I could trade off pieces, right, and get into an endgame and win some pawns, I'm probably okay, right? And I try to sort of execute that as he goes king e7. I think at the time, I didn't understand the point of king e7, and now I realize it's fairly obvious. And not only that, it's the top engine move. The point of king e7 is that my knight doesn't come back with check. Not only is this a free pawn, it's also a check, and it gives me an opportunity to trade off more pieces. So good move by my opponent there. I move my knight back. Now the rooks see each other, and then this is exactly what I want. Like I said, I just want to trade pieces, be okay. He attacks my bishop. I trade rooks, and then I take a pawn. The reason this is fine is because this bishop covers the g8 square, so the king can't come here attacking my knight, and also the pawn attacking the bishop. So I figured free pawn, might as well take it. King e7, bishop d1, and then a3 here by my opponent. As you can see the eval bar, according to the eval bar, I'm still plus 6.5, so I have this huge advantage. Essentially what it's saying is I'm able to essentially deal with these pawns with my other pieces, since I'm up an extra piece and a pawn according to this to the position on the board. Excuse me there. So I move my rook out of the way, attacking the pawn. He moves his pawn up, and at this point, I'm like seriously starting to consider, okay, I'm up 4 points of material. I think at some point I might just have to sacrifice a piece for like 2 pawns, or maybe just to ruin his structure. That way this avalanche of pawns just doesn't just come crashing down into me and just completely bulldozing me. H3, now that in this position, at the level I'm at now, I would never play H3. My thought process at the time of playing H3 was to go H3, and then he plays a move, and it was to go Bishop G4. Again, I'm just trying to trade off pieces, so I thought if I play H3, I can move my bishop and trade off his bishop, and I'll probably be fine. I think if you gave me some time in this position now, I probably wouldn't play Knight G5. I wouldn't even know. I would do something else other than H3. H3 just wastes a lot of time. Computer likes a Bishop E2, and I like the reasoning behind that as well. So I think that might have definitely been a better move. But in the game, I play H3, trying to trade off bishops. Plays it a little smart, knowing not to trade off bishops, because again, if he knows that if I trade everything off, I end up winning. I attack his bishop, he moves his bishop back. I move my knight to B1. And with the move knight B1, again, I'm just trying to execute the plan of sacking a pawn. I mean, sacking a piece for a pawn. Maybe not in this position, because if I take, he takes, right? I think maybe in something else, say for example, he plays like a waiting move like this, and I could bring my rook here. Then I'm obviously able to do something like this, and then I split open his pawns. Computer doesn't like it, but that's fine. No one cares about what the computer says. He goes B4, reinforcing his pawn, logical move. So at this point, with the move G5 and also Knight F3, I'm just trying to bring my army back. I'm like, okay, my army's done enough. It's won some pieces. Now I got to bring all these dudes back to protect the back ranks, right? Now I got to defend. It's not what was played. So in this position, after my opponent plays B3, one move keeps advantage, one move essentially makes it equal, and everything else loses. I play none of the moves that either keep me equal or keep an advantage. Apparently the move that keeps advantage is a rook C1. I'm not sure why. Because if he takes the pawn, for example, I have knight C3 attacking this pawn. Apparently this is winning. Sure, computer, sure. I don't do that. I end up playing rook D1. I mean rook D2, excuse me. So my thought process here was, oh, okay, if he takes the pawn, I just like take with my rook. And we trade pawns and it's fine. But what I don't end up realizing in my game is that it's just a complete miscalculation and just like blindness of the board, because I don't see this bishop completely scoping the square. So when I play rook D2 here, I'm thinking nothing guards that pawn, but it does, right? So I make this crucial mistake. And after I play rook D2, I had a position somewhere around here. I think earlier on I had it where I was like +5, I think, or I shut it out +4.5 or something like that. Then after I play rook D2, I'm at -5.5, completely throwing, completely getting steamrolled by the avalanche of pawns that are coming through here. It's just brutal. So the thing is, I'm not going to resign in this position. I just have to keep playing. So after pawn takes, I sacrifice the rook because I'm thinking, well, shoot, if I don't sacrifice the rook here, the pawn promotes and I end up losing. So I sacrifice the rook. I move my knight, attacking his bishop. I keep attacking his bishop. I'm trying to bring my other pieces back into the game here. I sacrifice the knight again. And we exchange pieces, and he brings his rook back. And after this exchange, where I'm just trying to just sag pieces so his pawns don't promote. At the end, he has a rook for a bishop, and he has an extra pawn. So this is completely lost, as you can see at the eval bar, by the eval bar. I keep fighting a little bit with g4. I'm trying to maneuver my pieces. Maybe I could get him to blunder or something, but no, he's a decent enough player where he's not going to do that. And he's just going to completely steamroll me with his pawns again. Give a meaningless check that doesn't matter. And then after takes and takes, and in this position, I just resign because there's no way I stop promotion. I mean, again, he just promotes because his rook is guarding his pawn. Um, so yeah, it was completely brutal for me because I had won the first two games, and after this one, I knew I was winning at the beginning. I knew after like the first like 10 moves, I knew I had a significant advantage, and it was just completely like gut wrenching to see me kind of just throw it like this and not be able to configure my pieces in a way where I'm able to stop the avalanche of pawns that are coming down. I felt like I could have like dealt with that better, and I just didn't really execute what I had in mind. But it was a good learning experience. Not only at the time, but also now, just looking at what the most accurate moves could be. Some of them are like kind of hard to find, but very instructive now that I've looked at it. Um, so yeah, this was the end of this game. I still have one more game, game number 4 of the December Open, which should be coming out very soon. But other than that, please let me know, what you thought of this. Do you think you could have done better? Let me know. Yeah, I appreciate you all. Thank you for coming by, and take care.